Iss Archaeology. Get out of there, Dan!
And I think we're live.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah. Hello, everyone.
Yeah,
It's been a while.
Welcome to You Call This Archaeology, and we're probably playing this on the Archaeology Show, too, so welcome to the Archaeology Show.
Yeah. And I don't know what the episode of the archaeology show this is, but I believe this is episode 94 for us.
Yeah, we're in the low hundreds for the archaeology show. Can't remember where it's at, but yeah, cool. Well, yeah, it's been a couple weeks, I think.
Actually.
For us right now, it's the week before. If you're listening to this recorded, it's the weekend before, well, the Friday before Thanksgiving here in the United States. So looking forward to a couple days off next week. That'll be nice.
Oh, same here. Oh, and hello, Amy. So far, that's the only chat Amy. I can see.
Nice. Yeah, so yeah, none of the there's Amy's chat. Okay, I see it's coming through on my side now.
Good.
So yeah, well, what have you been up to, Richie? You've been working hard?
I'm extremely hard. I mean, nothing I can, relay on the air, but it's been a very interesting week.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say that one of our, usual watchers, Chuck, I still haven't run into him, even though I'm pretty sure he's up there.
Yeah.
Where I'm working. Wait, let me put this up a little.
Nice.
Let me move.
So the comment that I see that's coming through, I think YouTube, says, "Hey fellas, could you please tell us some of the most unusual things you found at a site, and whether you've stumbled upon anything valuable, for example, coins."
Oh.
So, yeah, and Amy's listening while she's monitoring, so that's fantastic.
Oh, cool, because that's all I've been doing.
Nice.
Although she's lucky she has reception, because some of the places I was, I didn't have reception.
Yeah. Well, hey, I would say the most unusual things, honestly, if we're going to answer, I think it says Mark, his question.
Yeah.
Most unusual things. I mean, it's got to be dolls, right?
Oh. Oh my God.
There's always a doll, like some weird decapitated doll or some doll with weird doll eyes and golf balls and just all kinds of stuff. But then there's the one we were both on, the ice cream truck. Remember the ice cream truck?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. That was like converted to I don't know what they were storing there. I think somebody said possibly explosive could have been stored there.
That's interesting, because if you read the MSHA, that's not a proper place to store, according to MSHA, it's not a proper place to store explosives.
I think that was probably pre-MSHA.
Although it depends. I guess I remember when I was working at my very first job in Lancaster, they had a whole shelf for weird stuff, like a lot of sex toys.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. And as far as anything valuable goes, archaeologists don't typically talk about that kind of stuff, because value is really assigned by culture. So, I could find a trashy old tin can that is barely crushed in anything, but if it's got the right sort of lithography on it or label still visible that some collector says, hey, that would round out my collection, they might pay thousands of dollars for it. So how do you assign value to stuff, when you're looking at things like that? So we don't typically talk about value. We more talk about cultural value.
It's interesting. Someone, I was talking to a biologist, and it's a very long story, but a lot of companies in Southern California are using the terrible program called Survey 123.
Yes.
And so this one guy was assigned basically at multiple companies to handle all the Survey 123 QA/QC and trying to explain stuff to people.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying that, the company he worked at, is a full service shop. So, and he was surprised at how secretive the archaeologists were. It's like, why are archaeologists so secretive? And I'm like, I don't know. It's not like, because we were literally standing there in the middle of what used to be a campground. I'm like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know why this is so super, super secret, but it's like if biologists notice, then obviously we must be super secret, which I feel like is sort of terrible in terms of doing our public outreach stuff.
Yeah, indeed. So I don't know. We are pretty terrible at doing public outreach, but that's why we have the Archaeology Podcast Network, shows like this, and like YouTube channels like you've got. That's how we try to increase our visibility and our public outreach. Speaking of, I'm still kind of reeling in my head about this interview that Paul Zimmerman and I did for the Archaeotech podcast last night. The podcast will actually be out on Thanksgiving Day here in the U.S.
Oh, really?
But it was we interviewed a space archaeologist, Dr. Justin Walsh.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, it was super cool. And I've interviewed one space archaeologist before, arguably probably one of the first self-styled space archaeologists, Alice Gorman. She was my very first conference interview, my very first non-Skype interview that I've ever conducted, using my brand new little H4n recorder at the SAs in Waikiki back in, I don't know, 2010 or 11 or wherever the heck they were in Waikiki.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was my very first, or maybe it was 2012 or 13. I don't know, but that was my very first interview that I ever did live, basically. And you can tell because I forgot to hit record for the first 5 minutes. So there's that. But that was back when the Zooms, like my H6 doesn't actually do this anymore, but the Zoom required you to hit record twice because it armed the recording the first time,
Oh,
so you
yeah.
could monitor.
Well, Live
And
Track does that too.
Yeah, well, and I wasn't used to that, so
Oh.
I just hit it and it didn't record. So anyway, it was really cool because check this out. One of the things he
Yeah.
talked about was, we talked about like how to even talk about archaeology on other planets and the moon, because I guess current space law and internationally agreed upon conventions say that you own the country of origin, or really the corporation of origin, really the country though, owns the objects that are in space, right? Even if they're on
Oh.
Mars or the moon. But no country or company can own land or take ownership of land or lay claim to land anywhere outside the Earth. And I'm sure that will change at some point in the future, but right now that's the law. So thinking about, say, the Apollo landing, the Apollo 11 moon landing site,
Yeah.
all the objects up there have been heavily cataloged. We know what's up there. We've seen pictures. People look at satellite images, all kinds of stuff. We know what's up there. So it's been cataloged. It's been mapped. And the New Mexico SHPO and
Yeah.
the California SHPO, both space enthusiasts, at some point in the last few years, I don't know when it was, but they took all those artifacts and basically put them on their state register of
Really?
historical places, basically, except they didn't do the
Cool.
place, they did the objects, because New
Yeah.
Mexico and California both say that a lot of those things up there were made in their states.
Oh,
Like
that's
a lot of the
true.
companies that made those things
Yeah.
reside in those states. And I'm like, and they did
Oh.
it more as a symbolic gesture,
Yeah.
but I'm like, yeah, how far back do we need to take this if somebody's going to use that as a dangerous precedent? Because Richie, how many times have we been working in, say, like northwestern Nevada, and you find obsidian, and the obsidian source is in California?
Oh, that's true.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, are we going to take all the sites in Nevada and move all the artifacts to California because they belong there?
Well, especially since in prehistoric times they didn't subdivide themselves that way, obviously.
Yeah. So California, Nevada didn't even exist, but
Yeah.
California, using this precedent, could possibly say, somebody wanted to, they could be like, well, this stuff originated in California. We can prove that chemically.
Oh, that's definitely
And,
true.
but we can't prove it culturally. We don't know if the artifacts were actually made in California, but they were definitely sourced there. So it's interesting that even happened. That's one of the things we talked about.
Oh,
Amy,
oh yeah, I'll read that out. That's cool.
yeah,
That's cool too.
Amy, she says she forgot to double tap while filming for her thesis 5 or so years ago. H4N
Ooh.
was new to me at the time too. Yeah, I hear you. Didn't notice until about 10 minutes into the interview. Yeah, so I didn't even have, she had extra audio from her camera. I didn't have any audio at all. And I basically came in with a piece on that Alex Gorman interview. And I was like, so I forgot to hit record on this. This is basically what she said. Let's pick up the interview right in the middle. So, yeah. Anyway, so that's space archaeology, man. That was so interesting, and so interesting what Justin and Alice, they're actually partnering on what they call the ISS Archaeology project. I think it's issarchaeology.org, but they're partnering on that project to basically catalog stuff on the ISS and how people are using spaces and looking at the object placement and just what's been going on. And there's a complete inventory of what's been sent to the ISS and what's been
really?
sent back or incinerated, because I guess they send satellites up every once in a while, or capsules, where they put all their trash, and then those capsules just burn up in the atmosphere, and that's how they get rid of their trash. And then some stuff gets actually sent back to Earth. And he said something like 350 some odd thousand objects have been sent to the ISS over the last 20 years,
Yeah.
from food and other supplies to, tools and whatever. And over 8,000 are currently cataloged as lost.
Oh, really?
And you're like, where the hell are they?
Oh, well, it depends, because it's like all that stuff you always see for sale on all that stuff you see for sale, like how do people end up with genuine watches worn by astronauts, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Looks like we
Oh,
got another comment
yeah.
from Mark. Do you want to read that?
Yeah, he says, oh, let's see, what did he say? Have either of you happened to conduct CRM surveys near Dwyer, Nevada? And I do know that there isn't a Dwyer, Nevada, but there's a Dyer, Nevada, west of Goldfield, right on the California border.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I've even heard of Dwyer, Nevada.
Neither have I. But obviously, you and
Yeah.
I have done lots of work near Tonopah, which is kind of
Mm-hmm.
almost near there.
Yeah, definitely down in that area. I'd say about the only place in Nevada I haven't worked really is really kind of like the southeast corner of Nevada. I've worked in Ely. That's as far as I've
Oh,
gotten, but not like way down in that southeast corner between like
huh.
Ely and Vegas.
Oh, wait, this is much better. Basically, it's west of Tonopah, down one of those super small state highways, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So right when 95 turns into 6,
Huh.
if you remember that.
Yeah, yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've actually driven that
Nice.
way. I've driven that way to Tonopah, but I've never worked that way.
Huh.
Yeah. Oh, hang on.
Yeah.
Oh, Nicholas says, I found an arc once, but wasn't allowed to keep it as the director wanted it for her hallway.
What is an ark other than a big fictitious boat that holds animals?
Oh, that's true too. Oh, oh, and Mark says
Man.
misspelled Dyer, but yeah.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I mean, I guess we've both done quite a bit of work in close to there, so maybe not exactly there.
Yeah.
So
Like I've
yeah.
like one of my first jobs in Nevada with the company we both worked for was to do like a roadside survey of Highway 6 right outside of Tonopah. Like
Hmm.
literally right outside of it.
Nice, nice. There you
Yep.
go. There you go. All right. Well, what else has been going on? I think from a tech standpoint, I
Ooh.
can talk about the iPhone 12 Max
Oh, neat. Because I was going to
Pro.
talk about something. I'm not sure. Obviously, Chris is 30 seconds behind, but I just picked up a tablet yesterday and I learned that some Walmarts are better at others when you order them. Like it's a very long story, but I bought something. It was on display there, but it took longer for me to get it via my pre-purchase and pickup than it would have if I had just gotten it from the store itself.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Well, at least you didn't
Oh,
have to
neat.
go expose yourself. Yeah, hey, it's the first non-black or space gray phone I've gotten too. I don't know if you can tell, but
Wait,
it's
is it that weird
Pacific
blue
blue.
that looks space gray?
It's Pacific blue.
Yeah, it looks kind of like
Yeah.
gray though. When like every video I've seen of it looks gray.
I mean, it might when you're looking at it, but when I'm looking at it right here, it's definitely blue. So,
Mm,
um, but yeah, it's nice. The camera assembly on this thing has just got a lot going on. There's a ton of complexity in there.
yeah.
I don't know what's happening back there, but there's a lot of complexity happening in that camera setup. One of the cool things I like about this is, and I haven't honestly had a chance to play with it too much, but it's
Yeah.
the zoom. On the old camera, it would go up to 2x optical zoom, but this
Yeah.
is supposed to go up to 8x optical zoom. And I got to tell you, when you zoom in up to
Yeah.
8x, it is super clear, and you can tell.
Yeah.
The zoom will take you all the way up into 12x though, but it doesn't tell you when it's converting from optical to
Yeah.
digital zoom. But it is really, really good. I'm just super impressed by that. And then the light sensitivity, the way it picks up light and in darker areas
Yeah.
is phenomenal. And it's just really, really, really high quality. So from a taking pictures standpoint for
Yeah.
archaeologists and things like that, it's just getting better and better. The things you can do with these mobile cameras.
Yeah. Which is interesting
So
since I went back in time recently due to weird things that the app is doing. And it's interesting
yeah.
to note when I got a tablet yesterday and was trying to download apps to it, and this particular app that was giving me trouble with my phone also gave me trouble when I was trying to download it onto my tablet. It kept trying to get me to buy it, even though I've already bought it, and then it would say, "You've already bought this," and I'm like, "Well, no crap. Of course I already bought it." I did finally get it uploaded, but now it's got different bugs. Namely, it gives me my coordinates, but it won't tell me what direction I'm pointing in, which is kind of like, oh my god, I may as well just like whip out a compass and a GPS at this point, or look for a
Yeah.
different app. Because everyone, I'm not sure about you, but everyone, when they want to take a photo and geo and reference it and the landscape and everything, everyone seems to use Theodolite.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
that's a good app for that.
yeah, and I was using Solocator.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, interesting. So, you got your phone. Are you gonna get your new Apple Silicon computer?
No plans on that just yet.
Oh,
I
really?
still might just go the iPad Pro route. I'd really like to
Really?
not buy another laptop. I say that every year, but yeah.
But for the amount of money
Although,
you're paying,
well, and I know, but it's really about portability, right? It's all about the function and style of it. I mean, Apple's laptops aren't touchscreen yet. They're not. They've got some other limitations that the iPad actually gives you. I mean, you can't get a cell plan for a laptop. You can't. There's a lot of, especially living in an RV now. There's a lot of considerations towards having a device that's connected to an unlimited data cell plan all the time, and
ah,
and that's nice
oh,
because
that's true.
if I tether to my computer, I only get 15 gigabytes of tethering per device. But if I just use the device,
Yeah.
we get unlimited data.
Oh, that's
So
true.
yeah, and they only throttle you if you're in a busy area that has other AT&T people using the same network, and you're over 50 gigabytes. If you're over 50 gigs for the month and you're in a busy, heavily
Yeah.
trafficked area, then they'll throttle you a little bit. But if you're not, and a lot of times we're
Ah.
not, then it's free and clear, and we can stream and do whatever we want on that. So having another device that gives us that
Eh,
ability would be pretty key. But
ah.
and Apple's, I did notice that, and this is good from an archaeology standpoint too. But
Yeah.
Apple's unification of tablet and desktop operating systems is getting closer and closer to the point with this new M1 chip that they're
Yeah.
probably going to start putting into tablets and stuff later on.
Ooh.
As soon as the chipset becomes the same, that's really the only
Yeah.
limitation behind programs running simultaneously on both devices. And we'll no longer have mobile versions of applications before. Could you imagine running something like even something as complicated as Esri in the field on a tablet?
Sort
I
of.
mean, that was inconceivable even a few years ago, and now I'm like, wow, it could happen this summer.
Well, that's true. I
You know?
mean, you were using something that almost, I mean, you could make the data dictionary in the field and everything.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is you don't need to be as complicated as Esri products. Like we were using TouchGIS, and it was an app-based program. But my point is, using desktop apps, that's the one thing holding me back. Like I use Adobe Audition to edit these podcasts,
Oh,
and
yeah.
there's a decent app for doing that on iPad, but it's still just not the same.
Oh, it's kind
It
of like
doesn't give you
video
the same
editing.
capabilities. Yeah, yeah. There's plenty of video editing apps for iPad and for other tablets, but they're just not as good as
Exactly.
desktop-based apps. But
Exactly.
that's not a hardware problem though. That's
That's
the
true.
developers coding for mobile versus desktop. You know,
Yeah.
so it's yeah, I don't know what's going on there,
You know what's
but
interesting? Because obviously previously in previous weeks, when I was monitoring, I'd usually just bring my laptop in the field, but it's a very long story. But I've had to like stand closer to where they're working normally, because normally I can just sit in the truck and whatnot, but I've had to park like a ways away because
mm-hmm,
just because of the way the landscape worked out and where they were doing their work. And I was
yeah,
standing there. I was like, man, I really wish I had like I really wish I had a tablet or something I could fill out these forms on because obviously I just do them. I just write on my pen enabled laptop. So I got this it's like the Samsung S6 Lite, which is if you go to the Walmart, it's like one of the ones that's usually on display next to all the iPads. And you can't, I don't think you
mm-hmm,
can see it yet, but it's basically got a pen. It's got the famous Samsung S Pen, and it
yeah,
hooks up to the side magnetically, although it doesn't charge it since it doesn't use a battery. So that's like
mm-hmm.
one advantage, and I've been playing around with it, and man, it is like super handy. Now I can just like stand there and fill up my forms and not have to walk like a mile back to the truck, because that's what I've had to do.
Nice.
Because as much as because I have an old ThinkPad, and those are pretty rugged to begin with, but they're only so rugged. Like you can't like drop them in like a puddle or something,
Mm-hmm.
because it's still a laptop.
So So you are writing on what, like PDF versions of the forms using just handwriting, and then
Yeah,
exporting those and sending them to them?
yeah, because they insist on like getting paper forms, and I'm like,
Yeah.
but that's stupid. I could just like literally,
Well, yeah, and you're doing a good workaround because you don't have to scan stuff. Then you don't have
yeah,
to have a printer.
exactly.
Um, it's still a good workaround. And the handwriting on, I don't know if the handwriting on Apple is ever as good. I mean, maybe with the Apple Pencil, I've got some issues with my tablet, but
Yeah.
I think it's gotten better. But I had a Samsung Galaxy Note 10 or whatever it was
Yeah.
a while back,
Oh,
and the
for
S Pen
testing
on
out on
that.
WildNote.
Well, for testing, no, not for testing OneNote. For when I was working with
Oh, I remember
that
that.
other guy pre-codified when we were coding
Yeah,
our own app.
I remember that.
What did we call that?
Oh God, I
Called
forget.
it.
I just
I
remember
don't even
you were
remember the
like
name of
talking to
it.
the coders in the tent when we were out camping in Lake County. That's what I
Yeah,
remember.
I know. I know. I can't remember. Can't remember what that was all about. Anyway, the S Pen was amazing, and the
Yeah,
handwriting capability was really great on it.
yeah.
And even the handwriting to text capability was really good.
You know what's
So
crazy? Like Apple just introduced a feature that I think Windows has had for 2 years where you can whip out your pencil and like write in like the you can write in like the in the your internet browser field, and it'll automatically translate it to like, actual text, which I think is something
nice.
Windows has been able to do for like a couple of years. And the other thing,
That's interesting.
yeah, and if you're new to Apple or have never used Android before, what you used to be able to do on Android when you were texting is you used to be able to hold the space bar and use it as a cursor to move around. And I know that they just introduced that to the latest version of iOS. So for anyone out there who's got an
Hmm.
iPhone and doesn't like just like tapping where tapping on the particular field, it's a lot easier to just use your space bar as a cursor.
Yeah.
I don't know if Apple did that before. I thought I heard that was like a new thing.
No, Apple's done. It's not the spacebar; it's the whole keyboard as
Oh,
a cursor. Basically, that's been around for, I don't know, several years at least. I don't know how long though, but quite a
interesting.
while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
So you can do the same thing on an iPad keyboard. If it's the right iPad, you basically put two fingers down on it, and if it's a force touch iPad, you can force down on it, and it turns the whole thing into a trackpad, and you can just move around.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool. There's so much
Cool.
functionality coming around for people to use in the field, and different things. I can't remember if I mentioned it on this show, but I did talk about it on Archaeotech. But my
Yeah.
watch is charging upstairs. But um, the new Apple Watch Series 6 has. I first saw this because it was just happened to be turned on. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have done it. But it's got a lot better altimeter on it and altitude control.
Oh.
And because it's got a better barometer on it, it's using that
Yeah.
to judge altitude basically.
Yeah.
And but with that, it had a little altitude
Yeah.
complication right on the dial there. And I was looking at it, and it was kind of a neat thing. But then I clicked on it, and it
Yeah.
goes to a compass when you do that. And I'll tell
Ah.
you what, it is a great compass. It knows that
Yeah.
it's oriented to know that you're probably looking at it on your wrist, and as you pull your arm around and stuff like
Yeah.
that, it'll go and mark your position. And then if you hold down on it, you can actually dial in a bearing, or you can hold the current one as the bearing. And then when you move off the bearing, it shows you like an arc of the distance from the bearing and stuff like that. And it is really well done. I mean, really well done. I mean,
Oh, I
good
think
enough
you've
that,
talked about that before.
yeah, it's good enough. Well, you listen to Archaeotech too, so maybe you
Yeah.
heard me talk about it there. But it's good enough that you could use it on survey, because when you're surveying, you don't need a compass that's good down to the
No.
freaking single degree. If you're just trying to go on a bearing and you're doing a
Yeah.
shovel testing transect, or you're even walking a line, I mean, this will be good enough. And you could just tap it and go, okay, there I'm at, and keep on going. I'm just really, really impressed by it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Hang on, I'm just trying to learn how to hit the thumbs up on a keyboard. I hopefully this is it. Hopefully, because who is it? Mark. Mark was mentioning that there's a goldfish pond near Dyer that was populated by Chinese railroad workers, and the locals are trying to keep it hushed, which is interesting because I
Hmm.
was, oh God, where was I? Oh, when we were out in Elko. When we were out in Elko, I went to look at a town that supposedly had the largest population of Chinese miners in Nevada. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was a little. There was like there was a lot of fences there, and a lot of cows, and not a lot of time. So I didn't quite have time to go find it because I really wanted to go look for it. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting. Huh. It's super
Hmm.
interesting that there's so much like that you never see this mentioned because obviously I have all the Nevada mining books. They never mention like the Chinese miners in any of them, as far as I know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, some of them must mention them a little bit. There's so many of them, you know?
Oh, and
Yeah.
hopefully that's a
It's hard to
thumbs
say.
up mark. Otherwise, it might just look like a little carrot. I don't know. I just looked it up on Google and
Yeah.
that's what I found. Anyway. Oh, and Amy says, "See, photos are pretty clear on my phone. Oh, and 5G has arrived in Sacramento. Has 5G arrived where you were?
No. So craziness. I think the city of Charlotte is like somehow blocking it through regulation or something like that
Really?
because nowhere in Charlotte is there 5G. But if you go north of Charlotte, there's this weird little town where the interstate goes by and there's 5G up there for AT&T anyway. That's the other one I looked up because that's the only thing I have a 5G phone for now.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, because I want to try it. I want to go up there and do a speed test on 5G and watch it blow the meter off it. You know.
Oh, I keep
So
trying to figure out what phone I want to get for my first 5G phone because I kind of want to stick with some.
hmm
I kind of want to stick with LG, but then I think they've
yeah,
eliminated the headphone jack on their latest phones. I might be wrong about that,
yeah.
but that was the only reason I went with LG in the first place.
I mean, you have wireless headphones.
Oh, I know. Oh, and you know what I just found
Yeah.
out? It's a long story, but let's see. I bought those noise canceling headphones recently, and I was trying them out yesterday because yesterday was the first chance I got to look at them, and I found
hmm
out that I don't really, my ears don't quite fit into them, if that makes any sense. They're not the over the ear kind. They're the kind that go in your ears,
Hmm.
and they have like
Yeah.
they have the little rubber piece that keeps them in there. And so one ear gets good sealing and the other ear does not. So I'm like, it's half sealed or it's half noise canceled and half not. And I'm like, that's pointless.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. The noise canceling on the new AirPods is really good, and I think this. I hope that again, thinking about archaeologists, a lot of companies will have blanket company policies against headphones because obviously headphones block your ability to not only hear other people but to hear your surroundings, like snakes and things like that.
oh, that's true.
And they're not wrong. I mean, really, the solution is just wear one of them. But
Oh, that's also true.
um, yeah, and Amy says she has an S20 Plus. Nice.
Ooh.
On
Oh, that is
Verizon.
one of the newer
Yeah,
one.
yeah, it is.
Cool.
Anyway, but the new AirPods from Apple have really good noise canceling, and they have three different modes for the noise canceling. You can be totally off.
Oh, yeah.
You can have full noise canceling. So totally off just works like a regular set of headphones, and then noise canceling actively cancels the noise, and then transparency mode, which would be great for archaeology, and I've used it quite a few times.
Ah,
When I'm just doing stuff, and like for example, driving the RV,
yeah.
we have an engine, a 10-cylinder engine
Oh,
right
yeah.
below us, basically when we're driving. And when you're cranking up a bunch of hills and stuff,
Yeah.
tell you what, that thing is loud. And
Not
when I
surprised.
a lot of times I'll just put my headphones in because my wife and I, we're just kind of like, after we get our conversations out of the way, we're just on a road trip and we both put in headphones and listen to podcasts. And
Different ones?
I'll put, yeah, different ones. And I'll put in my headphones and then turn on transparency mode so I can still hear the engine. I can hear her.
Ah.
I can hear my surroundings. I can hear everything, but I can also hear my podcast just like I was wearing a regular set of headphones. And I love it. It's
Oh, and
great.
you can't forget Samsung and a few others do that too.
Yeah, yeah. It's not, yeah, Apple's not the only ones that do that. So
Yeah.
this is their first product that does do that when they came out with the iPod Pro or the AirPod Pro. Um,
Ah.
but it's the first time I've had a chance to use it, so I like it a lot because my Bose headphones that I'm wearing now,
Yeah.
they're obviously cupped headphones. They don't have transparency mode. They're just like 3 levels of noise canceling and then off, and that's
Yeah,
it.
but they're supposed to be like you're
Um,
supposed to sit in the airplane and just kind of knock yourself out.
yeah,
Headphones.
that's what these are intended for. You wouldn't want these to have transparency anyway. So, but I like it. No, I like it a lot. They're really well.
Oh my God,
So
I
transparency.
yeah.
Just real quick, transparency helps as well because like I've got an ear partially out of my headphones right now because when I'm just in my head, and I can't hear myself talking, it's a little distracting, and I don't really like it that much. And when I'm on a call or doing something and I have the AirPods in,
Yeah.
I can actually have them both in and just turn on transparency, and I get the same effect, but I have both my headphones in, which I like.
Yeah.
So yeah, it
You know,
really works out.
I don't know, like I feel like when I originally first got into this job, what a lot of people would just do is just turn their phones on really, really loud. And so
hmm
everyone got to hear their music or podcast.
Yeah, yeah, not the best solution.
Depends on how
So
close you are to each other.
yeah, I suppose.
Oh, before I forget,
You
I
know,
noticed that
yeah.
I'm on YouTube, and I noticed you just put up a video last week. Are you gonna put one this week?
What? Oh my god, I hope so, man. It is so hard to get stuff edited, and the next one I'm up to has so many parts to it, and
Oh,
I've been working on it a little bit every day this week, trying to get something out by probably Sunday.
oh, you're
I'm
lucky.
probably gonna have to I'm probably gonna have to do a bunch tonight because we're gonna plan on being out tomorrow. But yeah, hopefully, I just need to get caught up.
Because you were lucky, because like I have a whole bunch. Like I think I'm gonna not be able to put up a video next week, even though it's recorded. I just
Hmm.
haven't had time to edit it.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. So just don't have the time.
Oh
So
my god, I feel like that's everyone, especially this time of the year.
I know. Well, I'm at like a crossroads too because my contract with my company that I work for right now is up at the end of December,
Oh really?
and yeah, I mean it was just a 1 year contract, but that doesn't mean I mean they want me to obviously stay on,
Yeah.
but I'm like, well, do I start pushing the podcasting stuff more and really just kind of say goodbye to those guys? I mean, I'm not going to do it right away, but sometime in the next year,
Yeah.
do I try to push that? And it would take my salary down, but that's fine. It can come down a bit, and then try to start increasing it by doing more podcasting clients.
Yeah.
Or I'm a relatively valuable employee at that company for various reasons, and I
Yeah.
can probably ask for whatever I want.
Oh, what are
And
you gonna ask
if I
for?
ask, I don't know. I got to figure it out because I don't even know this industry, but I'm probably going to ask for at least 15 or 20% from what I'm getting now because I think I was undervalued to begin with, which is fine. I was brand new at it,
Yeah.
but a year's gone by and lots of things have changed. So,
Yeah.
and this is good to note for anybody working for somebody where you have to negotiate your salary, even if
Oh, it's
right
definitely
now
true.
it's winter time. Yeah, I mean you're working, Amy's working, but there's a lot of people that aren't working, and
Yeah.
you might have some time off. And if you come back in the spring, if they ask you back, that means, well, they're either lazy and don't want to look for somebody else, or which is possible,
Yeah.
or they liked what you did and you did a good enough job. Now in archaeology, you can't go ask for an extra $5 an hour.
Well, you can.
That's you just well, you can ask for anything you want, but you're not going to get it. But you can ask for 50 cents to a dollar. I know it's not much, but
True.
it adds up. And whatever your range is, if you're getting $20 an hour, maybe ask for a dollar. If you're getting $30 an hour, then maybe ask for $2 or $3. It just depends on your range and what you should, what you think you're worth and what you can ask for. I mean,
True.
honestly, the worst they're going to say is no.
Oh,
They're
that's
probably
true
not
too.
going to. They're probably not going to say goodbye. See you later. We'll hire somebody else. But they'll probably say, can we meet somewhere in the middle?
Well, that's
So
true too.
it's like I would be thrilled with a 10% raise with this company on my contract for 2021,
Yeah.
but I'm going to ask for 20. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And they'll probably come back down to 10 and I'll be perfectly happy, but there's a small chance they might just stay at 20.
Well, it's interesting. There's like we keep mentioning this show on this podcast on the show, the Jordan Harbinger podcast, but he's always got excellent, like especially some of his feedback Fridays, he's always got excellent advice on how to ask for raises because it seems to be one of the most basic questions that
Yeah.
people ask. And by the way,
Yep.
I'm not sure if you were aware of this, but he's putting up all his podcasts on YouTube, but they're like a week behind or
Oh,
2 weeks behind. Yeah, so by the
okay.
time they're already on there, I've already heard them. But yeah, yeah. So for anyone who prefers
Nice.
who is at like me, sometimes when I'm back at the hotel, instead of just like firing at the podcast player, it's just a lot easier to open up a new tab and then listen to something on YouTube,
Yeah.
which is why I listen to a lot of podcasts on YouTube, even though for some people it doesn't make sense. Which I found out when I went to
Nice.
those podcast meetups we used to have.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Man.
Yeah.
So what do you got going on this winter? Are you pretty much employed all the way through,
We'll
or are
see.
you going to be hitting up any more ghost towns and stuff?
I would love to, but I don't. It depends on if they keep me on the schedule I'm on. If I'm on a consistent 8 on, 6 off, and more importantly, I let's say how can I put this diplomatically? I only do mileage and try to keep my reimbursement expenses as low as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Then hopefully I won't have to deal with things on my days off and can just go out there and look at things. Although I will
Yeah.
also be the first to admit I do have like 12 or 13 videos in the hopper where I went to ghost towns, and I haven't been able to get to any of them. So I can keep
Yeah.
going. I'll probably keep going. It's just don't look for them anytime soon.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So
Like I think I haven't even caught up to I don't think I've even caught up to like May or June as far as the
hmm
as far as what I got edited or filmed goes.
yeah.
It's also one of the
What
reasons
was
why
your
oh, go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say I've been in a all day client training for the last like 4 days
Yeah.
here in Charlotte, North Carolina, so I haven't caught up with much, but I did see that you released a video, I think it was this week.
Yeah. It's
What was
just
that
one
one
of
all
our
about?
podcast. It's like one of the live streams we did before cuz
Oh, one of our
obviously
live streams. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, catching up on those.
Yeah. And I've got
Nice.
like I feel like I have enough to get to the I have enough to make it to like April and then, cuz I was hoping to roll into like a more vigorous schedule, but obviously I have all these
hmm
ideas and all this footage, but
Yeah.
not enough time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and
Oh
Amy
yeah.
commented on good point about negotiating. Said she was asked to stay on at least through December, so
Yeah. Same with me.
that's a good sign when they ask you to stay on. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, because they can. I mean, I know it can be difficult to train somebody up, which might be a company's motivation sometimes. But
That's true.
realistically, there are hundreds of people that are stepping in to take your job, especially in the wintertime, especially in the winter during a pandemic when things are starting to get more locked down.
Yeah.
There's people hard up for work. We got the holidays coming up. I mean, there is no shortage of people that would take both your jobs. And the fact that you're asked to stay there and asked to stay on really says a lot about what the company
Well, the thing
thinks
is,
about you, depending on
yeah.
lots of factors. So
Well, I was gonna say, it's one thing to be willing to accept someone's job, but it's quite another to actually be able to do it.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Oh, that's one thing. Paul and I were talking about on the Archaeotech podcast on that minimum skill requirements podcast we did. It was like fake it till you make it, but you also can't suck. Like you have to have
Exactly.
the skill to actually be able to, while you're faking it, learn the task.
Exactly.
Because you don't want to burn that bridge. If you just fake it until the job is done and it turns out you did a really bad job, then you're not gonna be asked back, and you're not gonna be given a good review or recommendation or whatever.
Well, it's like
So
this week. I mean, I'm not gonna say exactly what happened because it's like all very controversial. But one of my coworkers said,
yeah,
"Man, I really wish you were doing a certain job instead of these
hmm
other people." And I'm like, "Oh, because I feel like I should ask a raise because I'm definitely doing these other people's jobs, or I feel like it."
yeah. I mean, anybody that's in that position should just, it would be helpful to maybe document what you're doing and what you're doing on a daily basis. So when it comes time for them to either ask you back or rehire you for the next season, or maybe it's just enough time has gone by and you feel confident that you could ask for a raise. Like if you've been working somewhere for like, you know, a year, or even in this field, 6, 8 months,
Oh, it's true.
and no discussion of a salary increase has happened, trust me, the employer is not going to invoke that themselves unless they're a big corporation and they have to, right? But most of your smaller
Oh, I know.
firms, your mid-level firms, they're going to keep paying you whatever you negotiated for as long as you're there. I mean, there's little chance that they're going to raise you. So if you ask and they say, well, we're not really sure, but what makes you think that you're qualified for this raise, and you can pull out your notebook and be like, yeah, because in addition to my regular responsibilities, I do this and this and this and this,
Oh, that's
and
true.
I want to keep doing that for you guys. You're like, I could easily stop doing those things if you want, but
Ah.
if you want to reimburse me for it, then you don't want to be a jerk about it either, because
Oh,
they're
I
just
know.
gonna let you go. But if you can show that you're going above and beyond, and that goes for any job really. So
True. I had a quick
yeah.
question now that I'm thinking about it. Obviously, this is like slightly unrelated, but it goes back to when we were talking about pencils and stuff. I've often
hmm
wondered the more tablets are like pencil or pen enabled, and the more they become prevalent. At least hopefully, knock on wood, with archaeologists.
hmm
Um, how are you gonna handle field techs losing pencils? Because I feel like they lose normal regular pencils and Sharpies all the time. Or would you just not, like, if you offered them iPads, would you not let them use the pencil?
Well, like the Apple Pencil in particular has very specific use cases as far as I'm concerned. You wouldn't need it on normal survey.
Oh, but for
You
recording.
could use it. Well, you'd use it. Well, not even for recording.
Ah,
It's just not very useful. The keyboard's way more useful in because if somebody has a stylus, they would tend to tap out their stuff. And unless you're really fast at that, it's really faster even to just to type one hand and hold the
True.
tablet in the other hand. I find that much quicker.
Oh, but what
But
about doing
if you're
like profiles and units, or
yeah,
doing
I
like
mean,
sitemaps?
obviously, exactly. Obviously, there it would be much more useful. But I think as an employer, the first thing you should do is provide them the equipment in a way that makes it more difficult to lose. There's
Ah.
plenty of rugged cases out there that have a slot for the pencil,
Oh yeah,
so they could just stick it in there.
I've got one on order.
Um,
We're coming right
but
now.
yeah. But then along those lines, if you're running a company and you're not prepared to accept a few losses, and say, hey, shit happens, stuff gets lost, then you probably shouldn't be running a company, because sometimes that does just happen. And now
Well, I
I
guess
would
that's
probably
true.
document. I would probably have an equipment system. And if I was running a bigger company, usually on my crews, when I'm doing tech, it's usually just like one or two crews, and we can manage it all.
Yeah.
But if I were running a larger company and I had different projects going on simultaneously in different crews, I would have an equipment sign out process. And when you have
Eh,
someone sign out a piece of equipment, even
yeah.
if you don't tell them, hey, I'm going to charge you for this if you lose it, you don't have to do that. But even if they're just signing it out, that's kind of like, hey, I should probably take care of this thing in the mind of the crew. And then if something does get lost, again,
Hmm.
accidents happen, and that should be part of your. I have a tech writer on my
Yeah.
insurance policy, my company insurance policy. And if I were to go, I just paid $1,500 for this phone.
Yeah.
If I were to go lose this phone tomorrow or run over it with my car and it was destroyed,
Yeah.
for a $250 deductible, I can get a brand new one from my insurance company. So,
Ah.
so stuff like that you got to think about, but it's not a regular part of your insurance policy. You have to add technology and different things to your insurance policy in order for that to be a thing. But then, like I said, between that and a sign out process, and then maybe tracking on that and say, well, Richie's lost like 4 Apple Pencils in the last 2 months, so I'm gonna start telling him, listen, you lose another one, it's coming out of your paycheck, buddy.
Although for me, it's just like I obviously try to bring as much of my own stuff as possible.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But then you got to be careful with that too, because some people would lose or break their own stuff,
Oh, I know.
and then go back to the company and say, "Hey, I was using my tablet. When are you going to reimburse me because I broke it?" You know what I mean?
That's true.
Which I also actually don't have a problem with. If that relationship is established right
Yeah.
away, that prevents me from maintaining a tablet. Obviously, you have to have minimum requirements to be able to do the job, so you
Yeah.
can't have some like tablet from 2010. You can't be rocking your iPad 1 out on the site. It's probably not going to work, right?
Well, I mean, it'll
So
work, just not for what you're using it for.
yeah, yeah, it'll work to hold down your paperwork. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm all for that too. And as long as there's an understanding set clear and ahead of time that if people are going to use their own devices,
Mm.
I'll be responsible for it should anything happen to it. But you don't want people taking advantage of that policy either, because they
That's
could
true.
use that opportunity to get a new phone.
It's interesting because the tablets, my company issues, they come with rugged cases, but they're not necessarily they're not in any way water resistant. So obviously Chris
Mm,
can't see this, but I have like my own generic like waterproof case that I throw them in, you know,
yeah.
because it's a very long story. But last year I had to get somewhere, and the only way to get somewhere was to cross a very fast, really, really like high volume flowing stream. That
Hmm.
was obviously I wasn't carrying like chainsaws or anything like dangerous like that, like the other people were, but
Yeah.
still, it's like, man, if I drop this, I basically screwed up a tablet. So I got myself my own waterproof case, and I'm always wondering what possesses like companies to not like to just like not get waterproof cases, because obviously we're out there.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I really don't know. It's
I mean, I guess you don't use waterproof cases either, even though I know they're available for all the iPads. I might be wrong about that.
Well, I mean, it depends on your device. I use when I have iPads out there, I have wow, why am I blanking on the name? It's not
Wait,
OtterBox, it's
life
the other
proof?
one. LifeProof. I have LifeProof cases on my devices, which are not waterproof. They're water resistant, because I find that
Oh,
if I'm working in the desert, I don't need a waterproof case. I need a water resistant case and a dust proof and and scratch resistant and stuff like that. If I were working in
hmm,
the swamps of Louisiana, I would 100% have waterproof cases, right?
true.
Um, yeah, so keeping that in mind, that's the case. Now, I haven't had a waterproof or even water resistant case on my iPhones in years because they're waterproof already. This is waterproof down to like something like 20 meters now.
True, but
So,
how many screens are you broken?
well, you know what? in the well, my iPhone 10, my last one, I actually broke my screen twice. One because
Yeah, I remember that.
I dropped it and immediately stepped on it, and another one was actually in the field when I tripped over a rock and I went straight down and I just cracked it. But that's 2 times out of 10 years of field work with an iPhone.
That's true.
So, and those were two very, I mean, the circumstances around those were pretty unlikely, to be honest.
Hmm.
In the way that I was using them and what was going on, it just, that kind of stuff probably won't happen again.
Yeah, and
So,
I feel like I've told people on this told the story on this podcast before, but my this is my second OtterBox case for this telephone because it's already the first one got ran over by a car, and the and this phone is perfectly fine and functional, which is really amazing, even though it's not waterproof.
right.
But yeah, Amy says that doesn't sound very safe, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I was thinking too when I was crossing this stream. Like it was like the snow was already starting to melt, so it's kind of like the beginning of spring runoff, and that was insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my god! And it was just
Uh,
was just to monitor one tree, and I'm like, oh my god, this is. I can literally see it from across the river, but fine, I'll be over there.
right. Right.
Oh my god.
Man. I'm going to try to pull up while we're here,
Yeah.
because I can't remember the name.
Yeah.
I think I've talked to you about this before, but there is a here we go. Phone and waterproof cases. They are not cheap.
Nope.
Let me find the company here. But I mean, you're going to use something good. You better you better, if you wanted to protect your device, like I said, I just paid $1,500 for this phone, and I don't want to destroy it. So if I were if we lived on a sailboat, or I worked
Yeah.
I worked somewhere around the water or something like that, I would definitely be buying one of these. And I'm gonna drop it in the Facebook chat here. But it's
Yeah.
called Ugo, and
Oh wait, what is it?
they look really Ugo. They
Oh,
look really
gotcha.
cool because they probably wouldn't be the best for you,
Yeah.
but you could still use it because what they are is they not only are they waterproof, but they float. That's why they're so
Ah,
thick. So, and you can
neat.
hold other stuff inside of them too. One of the YouTube channels I follow,
Yeah.
the woman, she has one for her phone, and she like wears it around her neck like a purse because it's got other stuff in it for like her cards and money and stuff like that.
Oh, neat.
Um, yeah, but these things are really cool, and they're basically made to be kind of a like one size fits all for a certain size of tablet. It's not going to fit snugly in there, but it's going to be nice and
Yeah.
protective, and you can use your tablet or your phone through the screen, through the plastic.
Yeah. Oh my
So
god. That's
yeah.
although unfortunately their tablet one is sold out. So.
Well, yeah, it's coming up to Christmas, and everybody's having supply problems. This is a U.S. based company, so they're probably
Yeah.
having supply and customer issues.
Oh god, you know what's
Um,
for people who aren't going to be looking at the website soon, what makes this one interesting is that it's two compartments. So one for your tablet, and then it's like got
yeah,
the clear screen, you can operate it, and then one behind for I assume stuff like pens or batteries or whatnot.
sure.
Yeah, which is super
Yeah,
handy.
and
Anyway.
they've got different size of ones too. So I see this tablet XL one back
Yeah,
here,
that
and
one's
then the
sold out.
signature collection tablet. Yeah, yeah, well, $179 too. Now you look at that in the context of other cases, like
Yeah,
the iPad Pro, like LifeProof case. God, I think that was like $130, and it
it
doesn't
is?
store anything or float. Yeah,
Really? Oh,
if I'm not mistaken, last time I looked, I haven't bought one in a while, but
yeah.
let me go look at that, because they were not cheap, and I'm talking about for the big iPad, like the 12.9 inch iPad Pro. Oh, see, they don't even have it. The iPad Pro 10.5 inch though is it's on sale for $90.99 from $130.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the nude case. That's the one that doesn't cover your screen.
Yeah.
It just protects around it, so it's not even waterproof.
Because
It's water resistant, but
it's interesting to note that when I was looking for tablets, one of the things I was looking at is case support and if there was like a
hmm
rugged case. I mean, obviously
yeah,
there aren't a lot of waterproof cases for these things, which is really weird because where I am, a lot of the foremen they all carry iPads, and I'm like, but they all carry them in those kind of like I don't know, those office cases, kind of like the folio style case, where it's just like a leather cover that goes over the
yeah,
that goes over everything. I'm like, that is insane.
yeah, totally.
Interesting.
So
Huh.
I will I will drop a link for the Ugo case that I think would fit Amy's
Yeah.
fancy new phone right there in the right
Yeah.
there in the chat. So click
Yeah.
on that when you get better service, Amy.
Oh
I think
wow.
that'd be pretty cool.
Oh wait, a
Yeah.
company named Catalyst sells one for 170. That's completely
Jeez.
waterproof. Yeah,
Yeah.
waterproof to 2 meters, which means it is IP68 waterproof, which I think is
Well,
about the same as like an iPhone 12, if I'm not correct.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And you know, if you need a full waterproof case, that tells me one thing, that there's a chance you're gonna drop your freaking phone in the water, right? So if you need a full waterproof case and not just water resistant or something like that,
Yeah.
then you may as well go with something like this, because not too many, I don't know of any other case out there that actually floats but is this high quality as well. You know, and the fact that these UgoWare cases float is really the game changer, right? Because there's
Yeah,
plenty of cases out there that are waterproof,
that's true.
but how many of them float? You know, your phone will be working just fine at the bottom of the lake. You know what I mean? So
Oh my God, there's like those
that doesn't
YouTube
do anybody
channels
any
about
good.
that, aren't there? Where people find stuff
Oh,
at the bottom of like a river or a lake, and then they see if they work or not.
yeah, yeah. Well, chances are, if you dry it out, it probably will work. You know. So yeah, I always had that big fear of dropping in Lake Tahoe, because you
Oh,
know,
that's
most of
true.
the places around Lake Tahoe, that phone is going, 1,600 feet down.
Oh, by the way, have you been noticing like I don't know what it is this winter, but for some weird reason there have been a lot of underwater drones that are being released, and man, they look so cool. I
Yeah,
mean, obviously neither of us are underwater archaeologists to know if that would even be useful for anyone, but
sure.
they seem like they'd be cool. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
That's interesting. You ever talked to interviewed an underwater archaeologist?
Uh, yes.
Oh,
Um,
you have.
yeah, actually, when we were, man, I don't know if we actually did the interview though. I've definitely, oh yeah, I talked to one at the SHA last year.
Yeah.
She's actually talking about doing a podcast with us, but then COVID hit and everything kind of got put on the back burner. But so we might still probably do that in the future. But I talked to some underwater archaeologists at SHA, I think a couple years before that, and they just do some really cool things. Because that's one thing for Society of Historical Archaeology meetings, is it's usually the Society for Historical and Underwater Archaeology meetings.
Oh,
So there's a lot of
gotcha.
underwater archaeologists that go there. Yeah, but yeah, that's pretty cool. So,
Ah,
but hey, we should start wrapping up. I
that's
gotta go.
true.
I can hear dinner getting made up there. I'm
Oh,
on the East
I
Coast, so
guess
it's
I
about
can.
5:45 for me.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, this has been good. Lots of good things coming out and
Yeah.
doing some good things. I will take the second to promote.
Yeah.
Let me go to the page because I don't remember when it is, and I think Amy has already signed up, and I think Amy may have been the first one to sign up. We've had a few more signups since then, but if
Oh,
you
for
go
what?
to arcpodnet.com, Tristan, the co-founder of the APN, and
Oh,
I,
right. Yeah.
yeah, we're going to start doing these monthly, basically AMAs, where I'm
Yeah.
calling it an AMA, like an Ask Me Anything, but it's really going to be Tristan and I. We may, as we get through these, start bringing on a guest or something like that, like another co-host from the podcast network,
Cool.
something like that. And
Yeah.
we're just going to have a quick chat. I mean, it might take 20 minutes, it might take an hour. It's scheduled for 2 hours, but it might take, it'll take as long as it takes.
Yeah.
And we're just going to sit there and chat about the Archaeology Podcast Network, the shows have been on the last month, what's coming up, anything new. We'll
Yeah.
obviously answer any questions from people that are in the audience, and and do stuff like that. So we're going to try to do this monthly. There's a countdown timer, says 4 days, 22 hours, 12 minutes, and 1 second, right on the APN webpage, and you
Really?
can join in there. Yeah, it's totally free.
Huh.
So if you go to arcpodnet.com, you'll see that. And we're hoping to do these monthly, as I said, although we're probably going to fail on that immediately, because
Yeah.
a month after this one is basically Christmas.
Well, that's
So
true.
we might wait until January.
Although
We'll
I feel
see.
like I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm not planning. I already like told my office that I'm not going to be going home for Christmas or anything. So, if anyone needs like, if anyone would rather just spend the holidays at home, just like send me out.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, obviously, it goes without saying, my mom's a little older, and so are most of my aunts and
Hmm.
uncles, et cetera, et
Yeah,
cetera.
not safe.
And
Yeah.
and I didn't even think about it because I didn't think about it before, but am flying out to the East Coast for Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
which I realize is kind of not a good idea now that I'm thinking about it.
You're
But
flying to the East Coast?
yeah, to, Sunday.
Where? Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
flying to DC.
There you go.
But I am obviously gonna take all the precautions, and thankfully, thanks to all the fires I've been covering, I have a full-on N95 respirator. Like an
Nice.
actual full respirator.
You're gonna need it.
Oh, by the
So
way, she says the ad that runs for it on the ad that runs on the APN episodes, the audio is super low.
I know. I heard it today. I'm not sure what happened when I uploaded it to our hosting service, but I'm fixing that tomorrow morning. So I did not have time today to fix that, but I'm glad somebody noticed it and said it. Yeah, it totally. I listened to one of our shows this morning that came out because I knew I had some things I wanted to hear on
Yeah.
it. The Rock Art podcast, actually. And then when
Oh.
that ad came over, so the first APN promo runs at normal volume.
Yeah.
This one comes in down here, and then the show starts up
Oh.
here, and it's like, oh, come on now. So I've got to fix that. Tristan recorded the ad, and
Ah.
he didn't master the audio at the levels I normally do it at, so it was off
Gotcha.
from everything else. Yeah, so I've just got to go in and remaster that. In fact, I might finalize that after we're done with this call and after dinner.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Oh, by the way,
Anyway,
not to get super
yeah.
techie, but we did talk about this before the podcast. And I just want to mention it to people who are looking for a new Zoom recorder. But in the coming like months and years, I think Zoom is going to start rolling out its floating 32-bit recording, which means that you no
Oh,
longer have to worry about input volumes, just output volumes.
nice.
Yeah, so, and it's like
There
if
you
you
go.
ever watch the if you ever watch the demonstrations on YouTube, it is incredible. Like you just bring it into your editor, and it is literally impossible to clip, or to get any sort of low rumble stuff. It's
Really
incredible.
nice.
It's like really incredible, and it makes
Yeah,
it's gonna make their new recorders super tiny. Anyway,
that's
oh wait, we
awesome.
do have one
Love it.
more. Haha. Oh wait, me too. Doesn't help that Tristan is speaking pretty low too, which I feel like he does a lot.
He does. He does
Yeah.
indeed. Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate the reminder. I'm definitely going to get that fixed soon.
Cool.
In fact, I might just be doing it here really quickly. So
Yeah.
he also sent it to me as an MP3 file, which doesn't help.
Oh no.
So, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So
Well,
hope
I
everyone
think
has a happy Thanksgiving. Not to date this podcast, but yeah, hope everyone has a happy
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah. I hope everybody makes smart decisions.
Yeah.
Stay safe and realize that if you have to miss some of your family members this year, it's just so you can see them year after year after this, and you don't
True.
want this to be the last one you show up. So
True. And if
yeah.
and if you're listening to this and the current resident of the White House has refused to leave, then let's go help and get him out of there.
Yeah, totally. Oh man,
I know.
So
I'm super dating this now, but whatever.
that's all right.
It's like
That's all right.
I don't know if you've seen I don't know. I shouldn't talk about this since it's gonna super date it, but did you see some of the photos of his his lawyer's hair dye rolling down his face?
Doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that's a pleasant way to end this podcast. So I think that's a perfect place for me to do the transition, which I'm about to do right now.